And welcome back. This is working on the right fuel tank. Initially, I wasn't going to put a video together for the right fuel tank. I was just going to record for the FAA's sake. But I want to show some differences in what I did here than I did on the left tank, because the right tank has gone by so much faster. First is this pneumatic tool for the sim kits. Normally, I think they sell for about $150, but if you go to browntools.com, you can pick them up for about $45, and they're just slightly used. You can tell that they're a used tool, but they work. This one works just fine. So I would highly recommend using this instead of the caulking gun. It just makes everything so much faster and easier. And then also I picked up these, as I spoke to in my earlier videos, these little spatulas that you can pick up. I think they're like $1 or $2, something like that. Not expensive at all. But they help to spread it out as you're applying the sealant. So working on the J stiffener, apply the sealant to the surface, and then again using your flat tool, a spatula or even a popsicle stick, just spread the sealant out evenly and then slide it into place. Now, one of the things you'll see is that I've changed the technique in how I construct the tanks. The left tank, I basically applied the sealant to everywhere, clecoed everything, and let it sit for a day or two, and let the sealant kind of firm up before I riveted everything. In that process, I think it unnecessarily extended the timeline of building fuel tanks. So in this one, on the right tank, I applied the sealant, put the pieces in place and clecoed, but then once I had everything assembled and all the parts put together, then I went back at the same time or the same day and started riveting. And that way I don't have to take the step of applying a drop of sealant to every hole. It uses the sealant that's kind of seeped through each of the holes as you're placing the ribs in place to act as that sealant. So it saves a lot of time and effort, and it saves a lot of extra sealant. So we'll see how it comes out in the end, but so far, and I've, since this video, I have done the water test on this tank. It only had 2 small leaks, again at that forward attach bracket point. A couple of the corners didn't quite get enough sealant. And actually, if you noticed, as I was installing the inner rib there on top of that bracket, I actually forgot to apply a line of sealant between the bracket and that aft inner rib there. And right here is where I needed to place sealant, but I forgot. So I'm going to have to apply a whole bunch of extra sealant both on the inside and on the outside seam of that joint, and also apply quite a bit to the rivets just to make sure that the fuel doesn't have a way to get out through that junction. So other than that, like I said, here you see me applying the technique that I talked to just a little bit ago, in that I didn't wait a day or two to let the sealant set up before I started riveting everything in place, and it seemed to work really well. This tank, I was able to basically get from the point of attaching all of the ribs and the stiffeners in place, and essentially did it in just about 1 day, maybe 2, and it went by a whole lot faster than the first tank. One, you're able to get into a rhythm, and so you're already there, you're working, and you don't have to kind of talk yourself into starting to work with the sealant again. That's one of the things I noticed with the left tank. It dragged on, just for the most part, just because I didn't want to deal with the sealant. So while you're already working on it, go ahead and keep going. It makes things a whole lot easier after you get into that rhythm and just finish out what you're working on than to let things set and then try to come back and pick up where you left off. So the remainder of this video is just going to be finishing the rest of the tank. As you see here, riveting in the inner rib. I'm probably not going to put together another tank video other than when I go to do the final tests for both tanks, doing the pressure tests and whatnot. And that should be hopefully here within the next week or so. And right now I'm waiting on a part to replace on the left tank. I over torqued a piece, and it's now welded into the socket that it was screwed into. So I got to pull that back out and put in some new pieces. But once Vans opens tomorrow, today's Labor Day, then have them ship that out, and I'll be able to finish that tank. Anyway, so like I said, at the point where I'm about to do the final pressure tests on both of these tanks, and I'll make a video of that just to show the results of those. But other than that, right now I'm working on the right wing ribs, and so my next video should be starting to work on the wing itself. So it's a fun process. Again, if you have any inclination to do this, by all means, I highly recommend it. It's not nearly as difficult as you may think it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and let this video run out here. For those who continue to watch these videos, I appreciate it. If you get a chance, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe and then hit that alarm button, and it will let you know anytime I release a new video or an update on my build. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time around.